welcome to Up Close. I'm Shu in Beijing, and today's guest is Asia's singing icon, Stefanie Sun. Stefanie, it's such a pleasure to have you here on Up Close. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Hello, everybody.
So this year, it's a big year for you. It's your 12th album. You're on a world tour. Super exciting.
Very exciting, yes.
And it's been 3 years since your last album, since you've been doing this.
Yeah.
What does it feel like to be back after that long of a break?
It's very familiar. I've done this for 12 albums. So while it's very familiar, I know everyone is trying to ask me about my private, because within the 3 years, a lot happened. There were a lot of changes in my role. It's like being a singer and single. There were a lot of changes. So I was a bit apprehensive. I knew that it will be a challenge, like juggling these different things in my life. Yeah, and yeah, it has been, it still is. But I'm trying to be very positive about it. So it's okay.
Were you nervous about that comeback? The comeback, the tour. In February of this year, you had the first concert in Taipei.
The concert, yeah, it was a bit nerve-wracking because after having gone through childbirth, your body's a bit different.
Sure.
Yeah. So
dancing, singing. I mean, the cardio element of doing it all.
Yeah, the part. I was a bit like there were a lot of training to catch up on. But the album, I'm okay. I mean, I feel like it's something that I've done for a long time. So I know what I like. I know how I fit. I've always been in this circle. I kind of know how I am and what I like to do and how I do it. So I'm not very nervous about the album.
And you look like you were having so much fun in February. The orange hair, that's new.
Yeah.
You're making a statement there. And people were calling you hot mama. How do you feel about that?
I feel hot. I feel awesome. Well, it took some effort to be there, at that, to get back on stage.
Were you nervous?
I was actually, but they were like, really? Couldn't tell. Well, actually, the stage was so high and the clothes were tight-fitting. It was my first concert, and I knew my breath was a little bit shallow. And the first concert, I was quite nervous. The first few songs, at least.
But how fitting for to do it in front of your most loyal fans in Taiwan.
Yeah, they were awesome. Actually, the crowd was a lot better than I expected. It was very magical sometimes when you have that, like the crowd. When you say, hey, stand up, it's like boom, it's like immediate, and it was very direct. You can feel the warmth even though we're some distance away.
Does it feel emotional?
I do. I mean, being a singer, it is a very special job for sure. There's a lot of things that you get. It's a lot of gifts that you get that is on a very emotional level. Whether they feel like there's a connection, and it is a very special job. I don't really know how to...
A special connection with your fans.
It is.
Right?
Yeah.
And that they're just listening to every single word and sinking in, your message to them.
And it feels definitely very special to be in that position, to be able to give, and at the same time, that they're giving you all the love and
and support.
Warmth. Yeah.
Yes. 12th album is called Kepler, after Johannes Kepler, the astronomer. Is it after the astronomer?
Yes.
And what's the significance? Why did you choose that name?
Actually, I feel it's a fate thing. Like, I chanced upon this song, which was written by an indie writer called Hush. So he was relatively unknown in Taipei. And he was doing his own thing, and we cast quite an extensive search for demos as usual. So it was one of those like quiet afternoons, and I was just lying on the sofa and listening to all the demos. I was like, can you play this song again? And then when I heard it, I was like, I wanted to know what it was talking about. I got the lyrics, and there it was. It was just, there was nothing that I wanted to change about it. And then I started to research on Kepler, the person. It was also an astronomical sighting. They call it the Kepler supernova. whereby in the 1600s, I know it sounds very scientific and very Wikipedia, but it was.
I love it.
I did research it. In the 1600s, so there was this supernova whereby the stars actually implode. So the energy was so strong that you could see the stars, this star, for 2 weeks during the daytime. So it was that wow, it was that special an event that was the last time something like that ever happened.
Wow.
Yeah, so it didn't happen in our lifetime, but during that time, can you imagine? Every time you look up and there's this bright thing other than the sun. So I felt like it was very special because in the song there was this line that said, "Even in the vast sky where there are millions of stars, I can still see you." And when I read it, I was like, that must be something that everyone has. Everyone must have a Kepler in their life, a Kepler supernova whereby you just see the person, and no matter how noisy it is, you can hear what the person is saying. There's that much focus and there's that much affection for this person. And I felt like, yeah, this is what my next album is going to be called, and that is the next concert. Yeah.
That's absolutely beautiful.
Thank you.
It was an instant connection to that song.
It was.
I heard you were pregnant at that time.
I was. Yeah.
Is that what you're feeling? Who is the Kepler in your life?
yeah. I thought like in my baby's universe, it's like universe of water, and I know it sounds a bit unromantic, but his universe was in my womb, and I thought it was very special.
As a mother, I could totally understand that. Yeah, and that you were creating this universe for him.
And when I was recording it, he was inside as well. So I was like, I felt like.
Did you feel any movements at that time when you were recording?
I did after, and it was not in a good way. So, we better stop this recording. So it got stopped for a few months before we continue. Yeah.
In the album, there's a song about Beijing. It's a really beautiful song. There's a very strong connection. I think a lot of people who come to the city really feel that same sort of connection. Why did you want to sing about Beijing? And can you tell me, what's that connection there?
Well, for this song, it was also one of those songs where my colleagues were like, why would you sing this song? And it's not very commercial, But when I heard it, I think a lot of us grew up in the city. Well, I did. I mean, a lot of people from Beijing, Shanghai, Taipei, and it's that very familiar instance whereby you're stuck in a traffic jam. You're stuck in a traffic jam.
Very familiar and very common instance, yes.
Yeah, and it's the same spot. You're looking out the window, you see the same building. Every time you just feel like, oh, every time you're just stuck here. And then you start thinking about what happened in the morning, or you had a kiss, or you had a hug, and you can still feel that kind of warmth. And this song basically was encapsulating that moment whereby you're stuck, looking at the same building and having the recollection of what happened in the morning. And I thought, wow, this is it felt to me it was like art moment, like you managed. It's not about love, it's not about heartbreak, it's not the typical kind of ballad. It was that moment in the city, and I felt it was a very modern moment for me to be able to have something like that now. It
sounds like every single one of your songs has a very strong connection, a very strong emotion to your connection to your life.
I think so, yeah. I think when we were doing the demo, the whole selection, shortlisting, it was very instinctive. It was very, like, some people will ask, like, oh, why this song? It's very hard to stereotype it. It's very hard to categorize a specific genre, but I just feel like, yeah, that song spoke to me.
For you, it's very instinctual.
Yeah.
All right, well, when we come back, we're going to hear more from Stefanie Sun, Singapore's singing icon. Stay tuned. And welcome back to Up Close. We're speaking with Singapore's singing sensation, Stefanie Sun. Stefanie, it's your 14th year in show business. You started back in 2000.
Yeah.
Tell me about that. I mean, you were instant success. That very first album, it was named after your Chinese name.
Right.
What was it feel? It was overwhelming to become this overnight success.
I don't think I had the time to be overwhelmed. To like think about, oh, I'm really famous or something. Yeah, I started when I was 22. The record company, Warner Music at the time, wanted to have a new breakthrough artist. And they came to Singapore and they said, oh, what do you have? And my teachers basically introduced us. And at the time I was still in university. It was my final year doing final year projects and stuff. At that time I thought, oh man, this is my big break. And my parents were also very excited, but my dad, being a bit more traditional, he said, you have to finish your degree first, get your certificate.
Right. You had a very, I mean, your education, you were studying marketing, you were studying business.
I was. So I thought, maybe I can use my marketing knowledge. So I finished, and I remember the next day, after my final paper, I was shipped off. I mean, I flew off to Taipei, and I did my first commercial. And then it just went nuts from there. There was just 2,000 tons of work and a lot of promotion and interviews, and yeah, I don't really know. I think looking back, it was so much that I never really think about the end result, or it felt like I had no time. I just had to forge ahead and think about what's next. What do I have to do next? What have I?
You're always looking ahead.
I think so. I think it was because from that point, everything was just full speed, and I just didn't have the time.
Right, but let me bring you back there. You know, to university, you're studying marketing and business. When did you have the time? Did you know that you wanted to go to business, or did you always know you wanted to go into music?
Actually, my first choice at that time was law.
Law, a third.
Yeah, but it didn't happen. I think it didn't happen for a reason. So I went on to marketing, and then I went on to music. Music has always been something that I love doing. Like, I'm those kind of annoying people who think like, yeah, I can sing very well. Yes, I was.
Well, you probably could. That's fine.
And then I remember my classmates were like, can you like stop singing for a minute? I remember distinctively it happened.
Where would you sing?
I would sing in class, you know, maybe not in university, maybe a bit younger. Ever since young, like primary school, I just love it. I just feel like I like to sing, and it makes me very happy. And in the past, my parents used to drive us to Malaysia, and I would sing in the car, and my dad would be very proud of me.
What would you sing? Would your family sing with you?
The
sound of music. Do, re, mi.
The hills are alive. You know, the kind of musical things. Yeah, I used to do a lot.
So then, how did that become? When did you decide? Okay, this could be a career for you.
Well, I've never been really academic. School has always been a bit of a, I don't know, it's just never really was my thing. And I think my parents knew that, and they started to note that I liked singing so much. So they actually encouraged me to enroll in Li Wei Song School of Music. And that's when I started learning pop music. And then when the opportunity came, I just thought, yeah, of course.
Of course I'm going to try it.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a shot.
Yeah. And do you remember what was going through your head at that time? You know, you're on the plane to Taiwan for your first commercial. You're 22 years old.
My dad is the kind who always would prepare me for the worst. So he said, you know, if you don't succeed, just come back. You still have your certificate. Yeah, so that was that. I thought, yeah, it's fine. I'll just try. And if I don't make it...
And needless to say, it just absolutely took off.
Yeah, it quite kind of... Yeah.
Today, in karaoke bars all throughout, it's all throughout Asia, people, every woman sings your song, which is Cloudy Sky, Kian Hei Hei. Everybody wants to be you, you know. How does that make you feel?
I feel, especially at this point in time, I feel like I'm just a medium to people feeling their frustrations in life and feeling like they don't know which direction to go, because that's what I felt. And I had a chance to do all these really amazing works from these twin brothers, Li Wei Song and Li Si Song, and I just feel very grateful that I have this opportunity, and it is very well received. I don't really see myself as a superstar or like diva. I mean, it's quite nice with all the clothes and whatever. But other than that, I feel very blessed. I really do.
After that first album, your career was complete. It was on this accelerated path, completely unstoppable. 6 albums in 3 years. I mean, you were producing, you were absolutely prolific. Yeah. Why then did you take that year off? Was it going too fast?
It was, for sure. I mean, it was, like you said, it was 6 albums, 3 years, 7 albums, 4 years. It was, I felt like I was working like a factory. They just felt like, oh, you should capitalize on this popularity surge, and they did, and I think for me, I was young, and I thought like, I'm just gonna work hard while I was young. And I think looking back, I don't regret it. I think it's something that, at least I see, there's still so many people who love me, and I don't regret it. I feel like it was something that I had to go through, and at the end of that 4 years, unfortunately, I also felt like I had to stop.
What did you do in that year?
I watched a lot of reruns.
Wait, what reruns?
Reruns like Friends or like Days of Our Lives, that kind of reruns.
Were you depressed?
I think so. I think on hindsight, it was very hard for me to talk to anybody. Yeah, and I felt like it was something that nobody understood. I felt very alone. I would do concerts and come back and I just stand in the blank space. And I knew something was wrong. But at the same time, I felt it wasn't something that I really needed therapy. I just needed time to sort it out.
Because you almost, for those 3 years, you weren't yourself. You couldn't be yourself. You're in the public all the time, right? Did you feel like...
I think, to be fair, I tried as much as I could to be myself in the limelight and in the media spotlight. But there's only so much you can talk about yourself. And always, the whole practice of always talking about yourself, eventually you really run out of things to say. And it came to a point whereby if I continue, I'll just be a liar, like I'll just be a fake. It just came to that culmination. And I can't really explain it. I just felt I didn't have anything to offer. I have to stop.
It takes a very mature person, I mean, at the age of 25 or 26 to realize that, I think.
I think it can be both mature and immature. I think at that time, everyone was like, you have everything going for you. You're so popular, but you wanted to stop. And I think today I don't have a conclusion, but I definitely think it was something that I felt like a bit entitled to do. I felt like, I was looking inwards a lot, and I came to that conclusion, and I don't think anything would have changed that. I don't think if I had gone back, I think I would have to do the same. I would have to stop.
Right. Well, when we come back, we're going to hear more from Stefanie Shuen. Please stay tuned. And welcome back to Up Close. We're speaking with Asia's singing sensation, Stefanie Shuen. Stefanie, we were talking earlier on in the conversation about how you've taken a 3-year break. This is your 12th album. Actually, it's too many to count.
Yeah, it is. I'm very confused.
And we all know that in these 3 years, you got married.
Yeah.
And you had your first baby. Yeah, first-time mother. A lot of your songs are about love and heartbreak. So, I have to ask you, what type of a man does Stefanie Shuen fall in love with?
I think when I first started out, everyone is like, oh, you're very androgynous, you're very boyish, But I actually think it takes a strong man to be with a strong woman. So I like my guy strong and
emotionally strong, physically strong.
Emotionally, I like guys who have their own personality. I generally like positive, sunshiny kind of guys because I cannot deal with moodiness.
How has being a mother changed you?
I think it's one of those things whereby once you are never really prepared for it, and when it happens, it's a bit of a shock. And after the shock, you realize how Well, you can realize a few things. One is how indulgent you've been with your time. Like, oh yeah, I can just, go out for tea and do this on my own time. The other is how much you can love a person.
Unconditional love,
yeah,
right?
Like you're so tired, but you're like, no, I have to get up and do this thing. And it's just a very naturally, a mother's anxiety is really knows no boundaries, I feel. Yeah.
I mean, before you have children, it's always me. I go get my massages, I go get my facials. All of a sudden, you're a mother, and and your child is taking up all your time.
Oh yeah, I was a bit of a. I never knew I could be so obsessive.
What are you obsessed about?
Like the milk, how much water, it has to be, at eye level, it has to be exactly like 240 ml. I was never like that. I always thought I'll be the chill and like, just drink or whatever. But now I'm like, 240 ml, or the powder must be, it has to be level. It was like little things like that. I was like driving me crazy, and I had to do everything myself.
It's because he's absolutely precious.
Yes. It had to be right. Like everything, the room temperature, is it too hot, too cold?
Obviously, you have a lot of fans who are very interested in your personal life, and I know one of the things that you've decided is that you don't want to let anybody, or at least you have not yet let the press know the name of your child.
Yeah.
How long do you think you could keep that a secret?
Unfortunately, I think there are pictures circulating, like his pictures, and I'm sure there are a lot of people who already know his name, but it's just one of those things that I think I want to respect him as an individual. I don't think I know what he goes through being my son, or like going up with friends saying like, hey, your mother is famous and or something. I'm sure it can be difficult. It can be a blessing. I don't know. But while I don't really want to make it worse by really exposing too much of his little habits or how he looks or his name. So I don't know. But I'm trying to be very open-minded about it.
And when you're on concert, when you're on tour and you're away from him, how do you are you getting on Skype? Are you calling him and talking to him?
We do, and so far he is okay, and it's been hard. It's been hard for sure. But I think we try to do it. We juggle it all the time, and we sometimes see if the schedule allows for him to come with me. Yeah.
I feel like you're a very emotional and pensive and just this extremely thoughtful person about your life, about the people around you, about your environment. What do you feel like is the biggest difficulty in being who you are and being a celebrity?
I definitely think it's a very special job. And I think it's very easy to make it a negative thing. I mean, I read a lot about my fellow celebs, whether they're Westerners or, back here in the East. I think there's a lot that you can do with it. And when you have that power and you have that kind of reach, I think it's given to you for a reason. And if you were to treat it very carelessly, it's a very 可惜, it's really a waste, and it's a shame. You could do so much with it. So while it can be very grating, like always the fame, and you have a lot of obligations to have a decent private life. But I definitely think like it's good to make the most out of it and to look at it at a very positive light, because at the end of the day, we definitely have a lot of love, and we have very comfortable work job scope. So that's how I feel. Just be very positive about it.
And what are you hoping that you could do with this attention that's drawn towards you? What's your message?
Well, I think the message basically, other than maybe when you have time to charity, but be also aware about whether you're a useful person. Yeah, and to maybe I do know, like sometimes your idol or the singer that you like can be a source of strength, when you are down or you're going through a hard time. I think that's what I'm here to do.
Be a role model.
Maybe. Or a friend.
Stephanie, it's been such a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you.
I just have one last request of you.
Sure.
And I was hoping you could say some words of advice to all of those
Wow.
people who are watching us back at home.
Okay. Well, to my fans, I want to say a very big thank you. You don't know how much strength you've given me through your kind words and encouragements. I hope I can continue to be a very good artist that is worth your support, and see you very soon. Thank you.
And thank you so much, Stephanie. Again, it's really been a pleasure. I hope you're able to essentially have it all, and plus have private time with your family. That's really important.
Yeah.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
And thank you to our viewers at home for tuning in with us. We'll see you next weekend on Up Close. Bye for now.